Hello and welcome to the vlog. Now, if you watched my last one, you'll know I was having some trouble with painting. I was trying to touch up the little rusty spots on the front of the boat here, and I was doing that with Hammerite, which is a paint you can put straight onto rust. You need to sand it back a bit, but basically you just paint the Hammerite straight on. You don't need primers and undercoats and all that. Just paint the Hammerite on, do a couple of coats, and it should be fine. The trouble was, it just didn't look terribly good. Partly because I'd just done the patches where the rust were, so you could really see the patches I'd painted, but also because the Hammerite is a hammered finish and quite shiny, and what I really needed was a sort of smooth matte finish. Well, I've done some investigation and it turns out Hammerite don't do a matte finish, and not one that isn't shiny either, so Hammerite is out of the question. However, the other problem of course I had was that if I didn't just want to do the rust spots, if I wanted to actually do the whole side of the boat, I was going to need really a power sander, and being in the middle of a boatyard, I would also need power as well. Well, as it happens, my mum has a little dinky little power sander, and this is exactly the right size for doing the side of the boat. She said you can have that for the boat, so that's splendid. What about power? Well, as it happens, turns out the boatyard has a portable generator. I mean, who'd have imagined it? A boatyard with a generator that you can use. I know, duh, should have thought of that earlier. So I've got my gallon of petrol, which I managed to fill up at the station earlier, only spilling part of it all over the forecourt, and I've got the generator, got the thing, so what I'm going to do is sand down the side of the boat. Where there is existing good paint, I'm simply going to roughly sand it to give it a key. Where there is rust, I will obviously sand that back properly, and then I'm going to put on some new paint. Now, what is that paint, I hear you asking, with it not being Hammerite? Well, I've discovered this stuff called Rust-Oleum, which I think is an American brand, but there are two things about it. One, it comes in a matte black finish, but two, like Hammerite, you can just paint it straight onto metal, including rust. As long as you've got rid of all the sort of loose bits of rust, you just paint this stuff on. No primer, no nothing. So I'm going to use that, and what's more, I've brought a roller. So instead of messing about with brushing it on, I can have a go with this roller and hopefully do the actual painting bit in double quick time. Now, I did a test section a few days ago, and I did that with the sander, and I used a brush to paint it on. Did 2 coats. It's not great, I'll be perfectly honest, but I still think it is better than rusty and chipped old paint. For some reason it's sort of come out a little bit patchy in the finish, and that was after 2 coats. I'm hoping that putting it on with the roller should get rid of that effect, and maybe it was just to do with my brushwork, but we'll find out. It's still got to be better than a rusty and chipped side of boat. So that's the plan for today. Got some just about acceptable weather in theory, although there are some clouds in the sky. It's not going to rain, and then I'll come back tomorrow, do the second coat, and we'll see how it looks. So let's press on. So it's day 2 of the great paint, and a beautiful day has dawned here at the boatyard. The sky is mainly blue. There are a few clouds up there, but nothing too horrible. The temperature is absolutely perfect. It's not too hot, not too cold, and there is a very light breeze. I would say this is ideal conditions for painting. So the plan for today is quite simple. Put a second coat on both sides of the boat. However, I am embarrassed, ashamed and actually annoyed to admit that because of that rain shower that came down while I was in the middle of sanding the port side yesterday, Having now looked at it in the cold light of day, I can see that I have done a bit of a bodge job. I have missed some parts on the boat where there is rust bubbling up, and I've missed sanding it. So although it's beautifully painted now with the first coat, if you look at it, you can see that there is beautifully painted rust. So of course I need to sand that back down, but I'm not going to do that today because then I'd have to come back tomorrow to do the second coat. I'm not going to be able to come back tomorrow. So the plan is second coat on both sides, and then at some future point I'll just get a little bit of sandpaper, do it by hand, sand back those 1 or 2 little rust spots and then touch them up. But for now it's all guns blazing, full steam ahead, a second coat on both port and starboard side. Now with the painting done, there's only a few more bits left to do before I can launch the boat and live aboard. The stove needs a new door, but that is an entire other story which I will relate to you at some point. Also, the chimney needs sweeping, and I fear that is going to be very messy. And the only other real thing I think I need to do on board is that the shower cubicle, where the corners of the shower cubicle meet, there is sealant gunge, and that gunge is very old and clearly needs just taking out and replacing. But that is about it, and that too is a story for another day. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a click on the old like button, and hopefully you'll tune in again to the next one. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, click subscribe as well, and then YouTube should let you know when I upload another video. Thanks again. Cheers now. Bye-bye.